Brent Fikowski, the man himself.
Yeah.
So thanks for taking a second to talk to us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
First off, congratulations. You won your region in dominant fashion. Number one. What was your favorite part of that weekend?
Good question. I don't know if anyone's asked me that. It's always, what have you done differently this year? But my favorite part was, I would say, winning Chipper again. I kind of had put a little bit of internal pressure on myself. I was like, yeah, I have to win the Chipper, you have to. And there was times where I kind of doubted, maybe someone could beat me here, or maybe this part of the workout someone will catch me or whatever. And it was kind of the same as last year. As soon as I started and I was in the airdyne, we were kind of looking around, I was like, I'm going to win this thing again. And just the whole time, that whole event, I felt like that particular workout, event 6, I felt super in control, and everything felt really smooth. I did exactly what I planned, to a T. And then I just walked across the finish line. I'm like, well, that was the easiest event of the weekend. That was awesome. That was pretty satisfying to kind of, each year I've won the Chipper, and it's kind of the last 3 years in Canada West, and it's kind of become easier and easier each year, even though I don't put in a lot of aerobic work. So it was, it was good. That felt good.
So you've been the engine guy for a while now.
Yeah.
And this year you showed up as not just the engine guy.
Yeah.
And I think, you and I have talked about a little bit how your training has been a lot, actually seems like less volume and a little more controlled, leading into regionals at least. And I think that's a lot of it has to do with your who's coaching you now.
Yeah.
Could you give us an idea of sort of where that's coming from and what that change is like?
Yeah. I've been working with raw strength and conditioning for about 2.5 years now. 3 years, 2.5. And each year I think we just sort of refine what we're doing. And I guess I've always been, like you said, the engine guy. I think I was talking to someone about this, and if you look back to some of the older events, even my first Open, pretty much as long as the event, I'm not limited by my lack of strength, I'm going to do really well in that event, almost without any exceptions, whether it's short or long. It comes down to, as long as I can cycle the reps, with some consistency, I'm going to get a really good score. And then so each year, as I've gotten a little stronger, instead of 5 events being heavy, it's sort of 3 events are heavy, and then 2 events are heavy. And then this year regionals, none of them were particularly heavy. And my 2 worst finishes, basically the only reason I didn't finish even better was it was a cycle time thing, which was mostly due to my height. The pull-ups and the wall balls, I went unbroken in that workout, but I think I still finished 7th, just because it's not fast enough in those movements. And then same thing with the final workout with the thrusters and rope climbs. My thrusters just, I can do 21, and Cole Sager, I think, finished, finished 25 in that time, just because he can just move the bar faster still. Where it comes from, we just kind of further and further weeded out all the stuff that I'm already good at, and just kind of ignored it, and then, obviously worked on it a little bit before regionals, just to make sure I could still do it, but, just less and less jumping, less and less rowing, less and less running, and just, still what I needed, and then just rest, and kind of trusting that the rest was needed to become stronger.
You also posted something which I found really interesting. You said that you went into regionals with the goal of not getting a single no rep, doing every rep perfectly, or at least to the judging standards.
Yeah.
And you successfully were able to do that.
Yeah.
Do you think you're the only person who actually went through regionals being able to do that?
I think Ben Smith, Rich Froning, Matt Fraser, Lucas Parker, those guys don't get many no reps. Over the past 4 years at regionals, I think the only no reps I've gotten have been failed reps, when I failed an overhead squat, that's obviously a no rep, but it's not like I was like, what do you mean no rep? Not that kind of no rep. I was very aware that I didn't get the overhead squat. But that's just, I read this little post that Lucas Parker wrote up after the games. It's every year after regionals, people talk about this and that about judging and standards and this and that. And he said, if you practice quality standards all year, you don't really run into many issues at regionals. And he's a good example of that. I think I'm a really good example of that. Rich Froning is the best example of that. The camera's on him all the time, and you never are like, oh, is that to depth? It's like, that was to depth. Yeah, I mean, that's all there really is to it. The whole rope climb thing with people like touching and squeezing their legs, I recognize that like even a little bit before the events were announced. I was practicing leg rope climbs, and that's been the standard for a long time now. And I realized that I had the bad habit of sort of touching and pinching and grabbing at the same time, so I just got rid of it. I would do, leg rope climbs sort of a failure, and even when I was getting really tired, I would make sure that I would slap, grab, wait a half second, and then pinch my legs like every time without fail. And then when regionals came, I didn't even have to look at my judge. I knew my reps were legit, and that wasn't an issue. Where you could see other guys that was ingrained to do the other thing, and then they were trying to switch it on the fly when they were tired, and they just kept doing the wrong thing. So, I don't know. Yeah.
With regionals, one of the biggest differences between regionals and games, other than sort of like the escalation of what's expected, is with regionals you have an idea of what you're going to be doing. Like you're given the workouts, especially since you went, like you weren't in the first weekend, right? You went later in the regional season, so you had a chance to practice a lot of the events, or at least watch the other athletes hit it. With the games, there is no. I mean, you get a couple weeks, between now and when the games start. We'll get a couple of the events, but what type of training does that look like going into games versus going into regionals?
Yeah, I mean, it's been interesting. I definitely found a few times leading into the games where it's felt a little overwhelming, where I'm like, for me, I always have to make sure I keep my handstand push-up volume pretty high, my pressing. I find that if I'm not pressing like 2-3 times a week, they really disappear really quick. So I'm like working on that, and I'm like, oh, but I do still have to work on this. And then I've been finding, I'm like, man, so just like checking off all these boxes has become like almost more shoulder volume than I need in a week. Like I have to work on my handstand walks. I've been working on, have to be working on strict this, have to be working on all this stuff. And it's like, holy smokes, there's a lot of just straight up shoulder reps that need to be completed. Not to mention, if my coach just wants to do like a workout, which happens to have shoulders in it anyway, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's you try to do some odd stuff. I've done a few odd object type things. I think that if you can, I was actually trained with an obstacle course racer last night. So he does like Tough Mudder. He has this setup at his house. He's really good. He's one of the best in Canada. Spartan race guy, and obstacles like a salmon ladder and some swinging like between little ropes, these hanging ropes, and kind of like Ninja Warrior kind of stuff. And I was thinking about it, and you just kind of need like some general cues because they're going to have some type of new climbing in the next few years. Like they had the pegboard, they're going to have a, I don't know, something, right? Like monkey bars again, or some sort of climbing thing, and they're probably going to have some type of handstand walks. You can just have some general cues with those sorts of things that work for you. You just have to trust that you're going to be able to figure it out. Ideally, I don't have a huge crew, but I would like to have some regional level athletes like in my back pocket. So as soon as an event's now, I'm like, go test it for me, and then like give me advice. I know that Rudy from the Outlaw Way does that for some of his athletes. It's pretty cool. But yeah, you just gotta try and check everything off and just go in with confidence. And it's different. It's a lot different eventually. Yeah.
So far, we've seen several seasons of the games, of like the escalation of events. I mean, we went from Amanda was like this crazy event in 2010 to the Muscle Up Biathlon a couple years ago, where they're doing unbroken sets in the teens. And this year Nate had strict muscle ups in it. There's been this crazy escalation. Have you practiced any of the old games events to kind of see what that looks and feels like, or to try and recreate that sort of feeling?
Yeah, I read through all of the games events to see if there's anything in there that, like, I was like, I don't know how I would attack that. I actually did posting a video here in the next couple days. A double banger. So you can see the picture right now on Instagram, but I'm posting a video. We basically did the double banger, but we did the triple unders. So we had this like huge hunk of wood on this sort of sliding thing, and we banged it back and forth with a hammer. Because I saw that and I was like, man, I don't know when I've swung a hammer like that. So I didn't let myself use the implement until we started it. I think that's how it was in the games. They didn't have it in the warm-up area. So yeah, that, I don't know, there's not a lot. I mean, it's kind of like I said, like, yeah, a lot of the old games events are kind of weird. But I don't know if testing them, like, I look at them and I'm like, I know how I would attack that. Like, I'd split that up that way. I'd split that up like that, you know. I suck at those, I'm good at those. Like, you have a pretty good idea. I mean, people have asked me about the preparation for regionals and how, like, I'm really thorough. So, like, oh, do you think the games, it's going to affect you? And I was like, you know, when the regional events came out, I hit them that night as soon as they were announced. And my strategy didn't really change over the course of 2 weeks. Like, really small things. And then just my times got better by about, like, 5% in all of them just because of adrenaline and the taper. But there was no, like, I didn't do something crazy during my testing that I didn't do in competition. So I don't know. I mean, like, I pretty much attacked them exactly. As soon as I read the workout, I'm like, well, I'm going to have to do singles there, and I'm going to have to rest about 10 seconds, and sure enough, that's pretty much what I did on competition day. So I don't think that, I don't think it'll affect me too much. We'll see.
So you mentioned being really thorough in your preparation, and I think that's kind of where the moniker "the Professor" came from.
Yeah.
How does it feel to have the coolest nickname in CrossFit?
Yeah, it's all right. It's people seem to attach to it. I like it. Yeah, it's I got it when I lived in Australia, and I think my coach there, Drew Griffith from CrossFit Games, I think he was the first one who coined it. Just started calling me that. Like we were doing workouts, and I'd be some workout at the gym, and I'd kind of know like my sets and reps, and like I was a lot more thorough than anyone else who was just there to like get a workout in, right? So it's kind of always been that way.
What are you looking forward to most going into the games?
Doing really well, I think. Like finishing high. I'm looking forward to crushing some of the events. And then I think I am looking forward to, hopefully there's a few, like some cool oddball things, like pushing some weird sled or flipping some stone or whatever, right? Like I think doing that kind of stuff, it's cool. I mean, I think you see less and less of that in CrossFit events now. It's a lot more just thrusters, burpees, muscle ups. So having hopefully the opportunity to have a few cool events like that, you just kind of have to embrace that element of surprise. It could go either way for everyone, right? Which is a little nerve-wracking because there's like a lot of money and whatever on the line. But yeah, I think those two things combined, I'm looking forward to doing really well. I think the main thing.
Do you like as the events are being announced? So Castro said Murph is the first announced event, and it's up in the air whether it's an individual thing or a team thing, or if the individuals are going to repeat it or whatever. But did you like go out there and grab a weight vest and just start hitting that workout, or what?
We did Murph a few weeks back. So I did it instead of running, I did it with an Airdyne.
Oh shit!
Yeah. So it was it was a Schwinn, and so I think I did 160 calories, which worked out to be about 7 minutes. And then I participated in it, so I did it like Cindy. And then I did the Airdyne again. And so Cindy took me like 21 minutes, and then I did like 310 calories on here. So I kind of, it's obviously going to be different if they do 100, 200, 300. Basically, when it was announced, I talked to my coach, and he's like, we're not doing anything different. The only thing we're doing different is we're just going to add in more push-up volume in the next 2 weeks, because that'll be the hard part for me. Like 100 pull-ups, 300 air squats is really a big issue. Like I've been doing a lot of pull-ups. They felt really good lately. It'll just be, once you get past 60 push-ups and you have 140 left, it's like, oh man. So just getting in a bit more push-up volume, so I don't get like DOMs from it, but that's really it. But we won't change anything else. I think if I was to predict, I'm usually wrong, but I think it will not be a carbon copy of last year. Like there's going to be a beach run or a swim instead of pull-ups, or handstand push-ups instead of push-ups, or pistols. Like there's going to be enough that it's still Murph, but I get the feeling they're not going to start in the soccer stadium with Zeus in the middle. I don't think it's going to be exactly the same. It's going to look different. So I think to practice the whole thing, which I just practiced 3 weeks ago anyway, just get some push-up volume in.
Would you say you're sort of like, just kind of closing this out, would you say you're kind of more relaxed now than you were in years past going into like a big competition like this, or is there like a change in your mentality and how you're approaching this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely really relaxed going to the regionals. The last few weeks have been really busy. Like I have a full-time job, and then I've been trying to train 2 times a day. So it's mostly been like wake up, go to work. I'm basically away from the house for like 12 to 14 hours a day, just either training or working all day and eating. Bringing like 3 backpacks with me, and then which has been like a little stressful. It's been a little hard on me and my girlfriend, but it's been good. But I feel more confident going to the games than I did regionals. I feel like before the events were announced at regionals, I was still like, oh, I hope they don't announce this. I hope they don't announce this. And now, like, I think there's going to be a CrossFit Total on Wednesday night, which should be like a really bad event for me, but I'm excited for it. Like that, in my mind, I'm like, there's going to be a CrossFit Total. There's going to be another workout with heavy deadlifts. Like I've already kind of pictured the worst possible events for me, and I'm not even worried about them anymore. So yeah, I'm pretty relaxed. Just want to go out there and do my thing, and I've got a good support crew, like between my coach and some friends that I'm going to be strategizing the whole weekend with. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time out of your busy eating, training, and work schedule. It's impossible to find other athletes who are full-time, like who have actually full-time jobs that aren't coaching related. So so it's pretty impressive to see you being able to do what you do with that sort of a workload.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
And I'm sure I'll catch up with you in Carson, and if not, I'll catch up with you soon afterwards. So thanks a lot, bud.
Thank you.